Hello everyone, it's Melissa Thomas from C2C Stamping, and I'm so excited to be here with you this month for our final month of the Merry Makers card class series. Each fall we do this series, and we have 4 classes that we host in August, September, October, and November. I am finishing up the series, and I am the last person to be doing my class because my classes always fall at the end of the month. So this month's class is Sophisticated Sled Bundle, which we partnered with the really pretty paper, the Nests of Winter, so the ones with the birds. So when you get a package in the mail from me, it'll include the designer series paper. We usually either do a quarter to a half pack. This time it was a half pack. The 8 card kits, and usually an embellishment or 2 that we use on the cards. We're doing linen thread, and then some of these druzy gems that are really pretty. So I stack the cards. Envelopes are not included in this series. If people prepay for the entire series, then they get envelopes at the very beginning. But it's one way for us to, make our prep easier and, cut down on some costs. Because honestly, we've kept the price the same. We don't want to increase the cost, but we definitely want you to get a good value. So included in your cost is this video, and also the PDF that has all of the products that we use, including all the item numbers. And then it has detailed, beautiful full color photos and detailed directions on how to make each of the cards. And if they're complicated, then we'll have like several photos. But yeah, the PDF is great. So let's get started and let's play a little bit. The stamp set and bundle is an online exclusive. So this is actually an online exclusive stamp set that came out in the summer, and I think it got a little overlooked, and so I was excited that we were able to use it. And the little bird definitely ties in with everything else that we're doing. I like the sentiments: good tidings, I hope your days are filled with fun and laughter, let's decorate the season with happiness, let it snow. So these are great sentiments for folks who maybe you're wanting to send a more subdued Merry Christmas card to. I love the dies because they, work like a dream, and pieces just fall out like butter. This is a really cool piece, and we'll use it to build the sled. So this piece kind of goes on the sled, and then there's like a crossbar piece that goes up top. The skates, you get 2 skates, and they die cut out at the same time. Same with the skate, the bottom part of the skate, and then same with the laces if you wanted to use that. We are not using a couple of the dies in this set, and a couple of them you could probably get away with not using the die. I don't think, we'll see if what we want to fussy cut and what we want to do. But a few of these are made to like die cut the stamped images, and we're not going to use those 2. And we're not going to use this one either, but you could put that on the inside, or actually on the envelope would be really pretty. That's a very nice envelope stamp. All right, so I'm going to set this aside just so I know where everything is, and let's get into the packet. All right, so I tried to pack the cards from top to bottom in the order of the PDF, just because I think that's helpful. The first card set is from this white kind of squarish looking piece onward. So I'm gonna pull that one out, and I get the card. I'll show you what we're working on. So what's beautiful about this die is that it creates this wood grain look on the sled piece, which is just amazing to me, and I'm so excited about it. I have a couple of pieces that I've tried to trim down, although you might want to trim them even more for the sentiment. And I've got a piece for you to stamp some little cardinals on, and then we're going to build a sled. So all right, So we've got our sentiment. We're going to stamp that in real red. We've got a couple of inside pieces. So these are just the pieces that we can use to make sure we have a place to write on the inside of the card. And then I'm going to talk you through the larger piece that's got a, we use the Snowfall embossing folder on it. And the reason that we didn't make it a long, continuous, like a tall piece and just have you trim across is that this embossing folder is a square embossing folder. So you, it wouldn't have worked. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a piece that goes across here. So we're gonna take our trimmer and we're going to trim to a 4 wide situation. So this embossing folder is really pretty. It has more snow at the bottom and less at the top. We're gonna trim to a 4 wide and just make sure that that's 5 1/4, yep, by 4. And then we're gonna use this piece, we're gonna trim it to 4. And we're just going to tear some of it off so that it creates kind of a snowbank for our piece to go behind, our sled. So, and then we need some black ink and some real red ink. I'm gonna grab a couple of blocks that I happen to have sitting on my desk because I'm kind of halfway through another project. So then what we're gonna do with the sled is there's a couple pieces that need to be popped out. Perfect. And I'm gonna get take my big tool. Okay. So there's a few other little pieces that might want to be popped out. A couple of these kind of rivets here. And then there's one here. Oops. Okay. So now that we've got that, we're going to glue this onto here. And the easiest way that I could figure out to do this is I definitely see some pieces that are going to glue here. And then maybe there's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 kind of a deal. So I'm going to use my Tombow and I'm just going to very carefully, just going to add a little bit of glue here. And then I'm going to add just a little bit here, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Really, really light. All right. So we're just going to kind of hold that together for a second and that'll glue down, kind of make one piece. And then this piece is going to go across here at the top. And so I'm just going to put some glue straight across here, lightly, but straight across that top bar. Perfect. Okay, so now I've got my sled built, which is great. And And we're gonna stamp our sentiment. And our little bird. So with this sentiment, you know, you just want to make sure that you've got it either, you know, justified at the top or justified at the bottom. And then if you want it to come in and, you know, trim a little bit more off of there, you can. I think that's easy. And then the little bird, we're going to stamp in Memento on our scrap piece, which is way too large for the bird, but that's okay. You can use the die to die cut the bird, or we could just fussy cut the bird, which I think is fine. And we're gonna grab our real red marker and we're going to make sure to color his belly darker and kind of where the wings would be. And then I'm gonna do a little bit darker up around his face. And then we'll come back with the lighter marker. It's a very tiny bird. Does not take a lot to color him. And I'm gonna just use a little yellow on his nose, on his little beak, but you could do yellow or whatever. And then we can add a little bit of Wink Stella to the bird just to make it glittery and fun. There we go. Perfect. All right, I'm going to fussy cut it because, ow, sorry about that. Didn't mean to knock over the whole table. I just think that getting the dies out right now would be pretty silly just for a little bird. But maybe I'm wrong. All right, so we're going to glue the larger snow panel down onto the card front. And I do like to have the raised side up, but everybody's different when it comes to that. And I do like to have the heavier snowfall at the bottom and the lighter snowfall at the top. But again, everybody's different. All right, and then we're gonna glue this whole piece down onto the card front, and we can be a little more generous with our gluing because we know we're trying to get the whole thing glued, so that's good. Trying to do it without touching the glue, which is always challenging. All right, so I think right about there is good, and I think it just kind of depends on what my snowbank is, and I think that is probably a little high, but it'll be okay. I might have torn a little bit too much paper off when I made this, but that's okay. It's okay. All right, so we're gonna pop this piece up with some dimensionals. And then we want to pop our little bird up with a dimensional. We can just use a partial you know, a corner or an edge. If you have many dimensionals, you can use the mini dimensionals if you want. Just gonna sit right there. Perfect. And then I'm gonna use my little trimmer to trim this sentiment just a little bit. I think it could be a little closer. There we go. And we'll use some dimensionals with this. And then I think what kind of adds a nice touch to this card is the double bow with the twine or the linen thread. I'm on my last linen threads here, so we'll have to see how we fare. So you can take your linen thread and you can just tie a double bow. I tie it right on the spool. I don't know, I just find it's easier and less wasteful to tie it right on the spool. All right, so, and then I kind of just trim at the ends, and we'll use a glue dot. So what's nice about this card is it definitely features the stamp set. We haven't used any of the designer series paper yet, which is fine. And then we're gonna add just a few of these druzy adhesive backed embellishments. I've used a few already, but we'll add a few here. And they just add a little bit of pop and a little bit of sparkle, extra sparkle. I will say these are pretty thick embellishments, so if you're going to put these in the mail, you definitely want to do the use the non-machinable stamp, the butterfly stamp, where your card is hand canceled. Because if you put this through a machine, it's going to catch and it might rip the envelope or injure the card. So. All right, there we go. There's our first card. All right, let's get into the next one. So let me tuck away a few pieces in here and just so I can make my other one. So every month you get 2 of each card to make. So you make 2 of every card, so 8 cards a month. 8 times 4 is 32. So that's 32 cards that you're making, which is amazing. And over the course, you know, of the fall, then you have a lot of your, you know, cards, or maybe all your cards, depending on who you are and what you, how many cards you send. All right, so the second packet that we're gonna use is the blue one. It's the Blueberry Bushel card base. So we're gonna pull that set out. And a couple things to note about this one. You have a scrap piece here for another cardinal. You could use your old other scrap too. And then there's 2 sets of squares. One is a little bit bigger than the other. The bigger squares are for the outside. It's very minimal, but I just want you to know that. So if you're working on this card later, just make sure that you use the right one in the right location. All right, so the smaller of the 2, yes, the smaller actually goes on the inside. So this is what they call a book fold or a library fold, because we're gonna fold it and then this is gonna come here. So this is a binding that we're actually gonna seal closed. And you could use tear and tape, you could use, there's lots of things you could use. I'm actually gonna use liquid glue for this, maybe. We'll see. I think that the liquid glue does a pretty good job of staying closed, which I think is really important. I'm going to use my bone folder. Ugh, yucky. Did not mean to squish out a bunch of glue when I did that. But just to make sure that that's well creased. And then the same thing goes here. I'm going to use my bone folder here and hopefully not create more of a gluey mess. All right. Now my bone folder has glue on it. That's not good. Now he's got to be retired until he can be cleaned off. Okay. That's why I have multiple bone folders. All right, so we're gonna use the smaller piece to go on the inside. It's a 4x4. So this is the piece that we'll be able to write a sentiment on, or well wishes. And this card, I don't see them in front of me. But I did have a very small piece of, in the other kits, that we're gonna stamp the sentiment on. So let's take a look at what we're working on. So this is the card we're working on, and this is how it opens. So I have a very small piece for you to put your sentiment on, the good tidings, and we'll do that. And then this is where the linen thread is gonna wrap around. You could wrap it on the inside and glue it, or you could wrap it around the whole piece. And we'll take a look at that in a little bit. All right. So we are going to use some of the DSP on this one, and we have a very tight little piece that we're going to mount. So these pieces are actually going to mount on the card front, and they are, and then we're going to put the DSP on top of it. I think that they're almost a little too tight, but we'll see what we can do. And I'm grabbing my DSP pack, which has been well loved. Very, very well loved. So this has gotten a lot of wear and tear on it. I have used a lot of this paper this year. I think it's a really great paper pack. So, all right, so we're gonna cut a piece that's 4 by 4. So we're gonna cut this one kind of short. And that's fine, it gives us plenty of the other one to use. And then 4. And so you can kind of pick which one you like better. I think I like this one better. And it actually is the same one that we used before. So this one's okay too, but. All right, and then this piece, I actually have a much narrower piece that I had that was already cut. And so I might just trim my white to go behind this. So this is not an inch, it's 3/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to 7/8. And I think that might allow the blue to be seen a little bit better. And let's see how well I cut this piece. So that looks pretty good. That's got a good margin. All right. So we're going to it's probably time for a new glue. That's okay. Not yet. I think I can get through tonight. All right, so here we go. Great. And we're gonna pop this up on the card. I'm just gonna glue it. I'm not gonna pop it up with dimensionals. I'll pop up the sentiment, but I'm not gonna pop up the other part. All right. So we have a very, very narrow edge of blueberry bushel kind of around the edges. And then we're gonna put the, oh, well, I added glue to the wrong side. Oh, well, that's okay. The other side of the paper is cute too. It's these tiny little footprints. They are going kind of in a not correct direction, but I don't care that much. I think it's okay. Once we put some twine on top of it, I think it'll be fine. Great. All right, and then we're going to stamp a sentiment and we're going to stamp a bird. So we've got the same bird that we're gonna stamp, and I'm just gonna go ahead and stamp a couple of him since we know we're gonna use him twice. And then the sentiment is the good tidings sentiment. So that is gonna be stamped in blueberry. And I'm excited that this paper has some blues in it and that we can stamp a few blue sentiments. I like it. I like blue cards for winter. All right, so I'm just gonna stamp good tidings on the bottom, and then I'm actually just gonna stamp it again. And then I'm gonna use my trimmer to come in and just trim these up. I could have probably stamped it on that too, although that's really narrow. But let's give it a try and see. Let's see if I can aim this. How narrow? Oh yeah. So I mean, you can use scraps to do this. And the great thing about this is that it's so straight, it's so little, you can just trim it like that. All right, and then hopefully our edge here will fit and we won't be able to see it when we pop up our sentiment on our card, like so. And then we're gonna color our bird again, same coloring. We're gonna color the bottom of him, and maybe we'll do a little bit deeper and darker this time. So I do have a couple of promotions going on right now. One is that purchases made on my current hostess code through December 1st can earn a pack of paper of your choice, and these are the ones I have. These are 6x6, and these are all current designer series papers from the holiday catalog. So cute. And then you also can pick a stamp set for free or a bundle. I have some bundles as well. So let me show you what we have. We have Warms My Heart, which is fun. Surfing Santa. We have the bundle Autumn Expressions. The bundle Hang an Ornament. Snow Day, which is a really fun stamp set that was made for memory keeping but could be used for cards. And Reindeer Memories, same thing, was made for memory keeping but could be used for card making as well. So I feel like those are some pretty awesome prizes, and I think that anybody would be excited to get those. So it's first come, first serve. So the first person to place an order gets to pick a paper pack and a stamp set, and then it just goes on from there. I also have my 12 Days of Christmas class for sale right now, and so that is a class that will happen after Christmas, and you can purchase the class. It'll be shipped to you, or you could purchase it for a friend, or you and a friend could do it together, which that could be kind of cool. And I'll ship it. It'll get to its destination by Christmas. And then for the 12 days after Christmas, I do a video every day, and you have a little gift to open. So there's one gift every single day for 12 days. We make cards. I show you techniques, and it features a stamp set. You're gonna get a free stamp set with the class, which is pretty awesome. So the stamp set is from a previous celebration. It's the Magnolia, no. Oh, Dogwood, there you go. Dogwood something. Daydream? I want to say Daydream, but maybe that's not it. I think that that's going to be too big, and we're going to see it. Yeah. So if you ever do that, you can always come in with your snips and kind of cut it down in a way. Perfect. All right. Now, the last thing we need to do is wrap the twine and make a bow. So I'm going to give myself a little extra room, and I'm going to do a double wrap. And then once you've wrapped it and you've tied your bow, you can always put a glue dot under it in order to make it tight and make it, you know, sit where you want it to sit. So I'm not great at tying directional bows with twine, and I'm going to kind of go for the middle, and then I can adjust it because it'll just slide around. So, all right, hopefully that's tight enough. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And let's see if I can tie a bow that goes in the way I want it to go. Probably not, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, my bow is not going to be in the same direction as the other bow, but that's okay. I am going to just kind of slide it, so I'll take it as a set and just kind of pull it up a little bit because I want it to come this way. And then mine's on here pretty tight, but if you do want to make sure it stays where you want it to stay, you can take a glue dot with your snips or with your pick tool, hopefully, maybe, without hurting myself or others. And then you can just lift it and put the glue dot right underneath there, and it'll kind of, there you go. So now we have our little book fold. Nice. All right. So card number 2 done. All right, card number 3. So this is gonna be card number 3. Oh, and we could add some little druzy gems to that one if we wanted to. All right, so we're going to grab the next set of card making supplies, which is the shaded spruce. And then we're going to, you've got some circles that are popped up, and you've got quite a bit of, you know, layer. There's a lot of layering on this one, but it's really pretty. And then my punch is acting funny. It's an older punch. I should probably just buy a new one, but sometimes it has a little piece like that. Okay, so we're going to, first we're going to find the piece of DSP that goes with this. It is Pool Party, which is fun. I don't know that what it is the back to. Ah, these birds. Okay. I made a lot of bird cards, so I am good. I'm ready to use this pack up and move on. All right, so we're going to cut a piece that's 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm just gonna go ahead and cut my other piece because then I'll be ready to make my card. All right. And then we're going to stamp the wreath in Shaded Spruce, and we're gonna stamp it on, you have a scrap piece in your packet, so we're gonna stamp it on a scrap piece, and we're also gonna stamp it on the background piece here. So let's get the wreath out. And then we'll also get out the Let's Decorate This Season with Happiness, the sentiment, which I think that sentiment goes well with the wreath. And we're gonna do a little bit of coloring with this one, which is fun. We need to grab some Shaded Spruce and some Pool Party. Make this one Shaded Spruce. Yep. And Pool Party. Nice. All right. So Pool Party, Shaded Spruce, and Real Red. So that's what we're gonna color with. We're gonna stamp in Shaded Spruce. So you can stamp in regular ink and then use blend markers with it. And I think it's something that not a lot of people do, but it's definitely allowed and acceptable. And we're gonna stamp the sentiment as well. I might need to re-ink my Shaded Spruce. All right, so I've got my Pool Party piece here. And then we're gonna take a sponge dauber or a sponge, or if you have if you have the Stampin' Spots, you can use a spot to do this too, which is kind of cool. And we'll grab a green of some kind. Let's see, I think this was used for green lately. Yeah. So I'm just going to use my sponge dauber, and I'm just going to add a little bit on the edges. This creates a little bit more contrast and interest, let us say. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so now you've got a little bit more contrast there, which is nice. All right, so we're gonna color. We're gonna color the berries red. That's probably the easiest part. And then we're just going to die cut this one wreath, and then we're gonna layer them together. So it's gonna create a little extra, a little extra interest. What's nice about stamping in an ink and then using the blends is that you get two tones of the ink, which is kind of cool. So, and I'm gonna try to be careful and not over color. It's easy to get carried away when you're coloring, especially with these blends. I think this is a newer marker. All right. So I'm gonna do the Skinny Leaves with the shaded spruce. And then we'll use the pool party for the other leaves. And I could use like the pool party light and dark if I wanted. So I'll use the light one for this style, and then I'll grab the dark one for the other. If you don't enjoy coloring, you don't have to color. You could literally just stamp this and move on. If you wanted to put some red gems on here, you know, just to add a little bit more color to it without having to color it, you could just color just the red berries and move on. So don't feel like you have to color this, but it's definitely adds a nice depth to it, especially since we're coloring some of them in Pool Party, which I think is a fun color. Okay. Let's see. Pool Party. Oh, that was Pool Party dark. Oh, well, now we'll use Pool Party light. Let's see. Oh, the light is very light. I actually might need a new light. That's fine. It'll just be very, very light. Let me try using the brush end. Sometimes the brush end has more color than the bullet end. When the markers are dying, one end is usually a little bit juicier than the other. For me, it's always the marker, the brush end. It's got a little bit more ink in it. All right, I haven't had to die cut anything so far tonight, but unfortunately, this one I have to go die cut. So let's find those dies. Where did they disappear? I pre-got die cut everything else, but all right. And then when we're die cutting the wreath, we're gonna look to see how it lines up, and hopefully this isn't too painful to find the match. Although a lot of times I'll spin it and then I keep spinning and then I spin and then I spin, and I'm pretty terrible at lining up dies. Like I will say, this is kind of my kryptonite of crafting. I mean, to me that looks okay, but I don't know. I'm sure there's a trick here, but I don't know it. Oh, that might be it right there. No. Oh, yay, you get to go on this adventure with me. Okay, I could definitely know that's off because the middle doesn't look right. If I focus on the middle, I truly think that's it. There we go. Focus on the middle. There we go. All right, I'm going to put a little piece of tape down. And then the other piece on here is a pine cone. There's a couple pine cones that have been fussy cut out of this sheet. So if you have a couple pine cones, like I've been cutting and using these birds, but if you have a couple pine cones that you want to, you know, rescue and use for this, and I could even use this corner one because I can probably layer them and it'll be fine. So, all right, so a couple pine cones, and we're just going to fussy cut those. And, you know, pine cone-ish shape. I don't know. It doesn't have to be. There's going to be some other things on top of it, so I don't think it has to be super exact. And then we got our cool wreath, and we did a great job lining it up. So thanks for your patience. Focusing on the middle piece is key, I think. So let me know, do you put out pine cones for the holidays? We do. I do, at least. Because I love the look of pine cones. And so I have a bunch of them all over the house. All right, we're gonna get a new bone folder. And we're going to glue some layers together. So first we're going to glue this piece that's been stamped on to this piece and try to center that up. Okay, we're going to glue the designer series paper down. I'm just being cheap. It's okay. All right, so we're gonna grab this and we're gonna flip it. Perfect. Just keep moving things out of my space, right? We have a piece of white that's gonna go on the inside. And that's good, you know, when you've got these really dark colors. You can write with like a silver pen or a gold pen or a bronze pen or a marker, but it's a little bit easier if you just, you know, give yourself a nice white space to write on. All right, and then we're going to layer this more to the left. So we're off centering it a little bit. We're off centering it so that we can then kind of layer our other pieces on here. We're gonna get some dimensionals for this guy. I think 3 is probably good enough. Now, we can add some twine to the back of this. And I actually like to use a little bit of tape. So when I'm doing this, I look at what the front looks like and I say, okay, I want, you know, a circle to go here, and then I'm gonna do another one here. So I'll kind of work with the front piece in mind, and then I'll have a better idea of how I want this to line up. Terrific. So now we've got a little bit of extra texture on the card front, which is nice. So I was in a class the other day and we had to use an adhesive eraser. We made a big mess. All right, and that's crazy crooked. So let's straighten that out a little bit. Great. And then we're gonna layer this one on top with a few dimensionals that we've placed. So not where my fingers are. I like to kind of just use my fingers to block that. So we'll put like one here and one here, and one here. And then put a little bit of glue here, kind of like the reverse side of this. Like, I think this looks really cool. Maybe we'll just use the tear and tape or whatever. Okay. So we're gonna kind of put those two there. And then we're gonna pop up the pine cones, and I'm just gonna take one dimensional. I'm gonna split it in half, and I'm gonna put one pine cone on kind of the top, and then I'm gonna take the other pine cone and layer it on top. And then we'll add a little more twine, of course. So we'll do another double bow. The key with twine is to not twist it. So when you're tying it, try to tie it as flat as you can and also as loose as you can before you tighten it, so that when you're ready to tighten it, you've got it exactly where you want it. Once you tighten it, that's when it tends to twist. And that's kind of the look that people don't like, when it twists on them. All right, and then we're gonna get a glue dot. And we're gonna add some druze pieces because these are so pretty. Add one there, we can add one here. Perfect, beautiful, yay. All right, last card. We're doing good. All right, so the last card is with the ice skates, which is fun. So a couple things about the ice skates. I love that when you die cut them, this little line is die cut. They cut 2 at a time, and this piece also cuts 2 at a time. So it makes it really easy. So this is the card base that has the Whisper White. It's a thick white card base. When you're using white for card bases, you want to use our thick white because it's going to stand up really well. So you want a nice thick card base when you're doing that. So we need one of these, we need 2 skates and 2 of the blades. And then this is going to be for the second kind. So I'm just going to tuck that away. Perfect. All right. So we're going to use some designer series paper to make this happen. Before we do that, I'm probably going to go ahead and put my skate bases on with maybe a little bit of glue if it's had a moment to kind of rest. And if not, a friend gave me some other glue, so maybe I'll just try to squeeze some of this out. I just don't like this one because I think the tip is too narrow. There it is, though. Okay, great. So we can just take this and we're gonna line it up, and I'm actually just gonna do it upside down, just like that. And then once I've kind of got it on there, then I can make sure, but that's perfect. That turned out great. All right, and then we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna add a little bit of glue. And really, a little bit of glue goes a long way. So So I'm just going to kind of, oopsie, nope, just not like that. Just gonna put it on there upside down. So even though we live in Central Texas, my daughter is going to work at an ice skating rink. I'm super excited for her. I think it's gonna be fun. So, all right, we're gonna use Shaded Spruce for this ink as well. And all we have to do is stamp the Let It Snow. And we're gonna stamp that on this little piece. Again, if you want to trim it a little bit, you can. I think if you add the embellishment there, I think it, you know, takes up a little bit of the space, so it doesn't have to be so tight. I'm gonna stamp it right in the middle. Let It Snow. I like that font a lot. Everybody knows I'm picky about my fonts. All right, so we need to find these couple of pieces of paper. So the piece that has the birch and the bubbles. Looking for the birch, looking for the bubbles. Oh, found the birch, that's good. What's the back side? Oh, okay. And the bubbles are, let's say bubbles. Oh, this one. Okay, so the bubbles are this one. So the big birds, which these are really nice, but the back side has the little bubbles. So the bubble piece, we just need 2 by 4, and then the larger piece is 3.5 by 4. So they're both just a 4, 3.5. Okay. So 4. I want it to go this way, so we'll do 3.5 this way. And then we'll do 4 this way. And then this one is 2 by 4. So I'm just going to trim off I cut some birds out, so I need to 2. Great. By 4. All right. So I'm going to use my tape runner that was on my desk. But I do like to use, oh, and there's going to be a little bit of overlap here, which is fine. So that's great. And then we're going to put this piece of greenery down, and I would highly recommend that you, again, use, you know, a liquid glue, or if you have adhesive sheets and you're, you know, prepping this class at home, I maybe should have used adhesive sheets on this one. I wasn't quite thinking through when I was die cutting, but let's see if I can get the glue to come out. Sometimes. All right, so we're gonna try to glue a few of these pieces down. When it's such a delicate dye, I do like to try to have all the little leaves glued a little bit, only because, you know, if they get caught on the envelope or something, you don't want to rip the whole thing apart. But I think this will be okay. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna tie a double bow, but we're gonna make two of the strings longer so that they can hold the skates up. We're gonna kind of give an illusion like they're holding the skates up. So here we go. We're gonna tie a small bow with a long rope. I'm gonna kind of see if I can get this to do what I want it to do before I tighten it, but I don't know. Okay. All right, so and then I'm going to use a glue dot to glue this piece down, this bow, in the center of the greenery. And then I'll use two of these. I'm going to actually use a glue dot, and I'm going to like use this to kind of tie them down so that I know exactly where they're going. So I'm going to grab a glue dot just with my finger, and I'm going to say, all right, I want one of them to go here, and I'm going to kind of pull the string down, and then I'm going to use a glue dot here, and I'm going to say, okay, I want that one to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to go here with that one. Then these two, I'm actually just going to cut shorter, period. So that they're just kind of independent and free. Somehow I got that one caught under that one, but that's fine. And then I'm going to trim this just so that it doesn't stick out from underneath the skate. And then the skates, we're going to pop up on a glue dot or a dimensional. And we're also going to pop up the sentiment on a couple of dimensionals. So the sentiment will go in the upper right-hand corner, and the skates are going to go on top of where the strings are. And we're just going to make sure that we kind of overlap them a little, and that they look, you know, like they're actually hanging. There we go. All right. And then we can add a few of these druzy pieces to the card. Maybe a couple of small ones and a big one. Nice. But now we have some really cute little skates on the card. So, all right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit about the sophisticated sled class and merrymakers, and also all of the offers that we've got going on right now. Soon it will be last chance in December. We have a wonderful spring catalog coming out, but right now I am really focused on wanting to give away these stamp sets, these brand new stamp sets and paper packs, 6x6 paper samples. And I also would really like to fill my 12 Days of Christmas class, and I'd love to see you back here after Christmas for 12 days where we can craft together. So thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, y'all.